So the book is called Lovesick, Pages of a Poetic Heart by SC AYALA. In the beginning, a declaration of independence for me inspired by you, in parentheses E310. I will never love again. Love. I will never again trust. And I will never again allow anyone to get close enough to have such authority over my heart. I will never again lie awake at night, crying over wasted worries of insecurities that are not mine. I will never again be found in a dismal state of shock based upon the foul and volatile words coming from your mouth. I will never again allow anyone to disrespect me as a woman of feeling and heart. And I will never again allow anyone to disregard that I am a child of God, who not only deserves respect, but praise too. I will never again allow this pain in my life, which is inspired by you. And I will never again be found wanting a life with a man who doesn't want love in his own. These words I say are how I feel, both too real and oh so true. And never again will you ever hear me say, I love you. And this, my love, is my declaration of independence from me, inspired by you. So, going back to the beginning, again, the book is called Lovesick, Pages of a Poetic Heart. I should have actually called it Pages of a Pissed Heart, honestly. So, as you know, for those of you that have followed me or have bought in the book, there are a lot of true to life stories in these poems. Some references are to me, and some are referenced about either someone I know or something I've encountered or someone I've talked to that has shared a story or two and I've written about. However, a declaration of independence for me, inspired by you, was actually written about a past relationship, and basically just being in what I would consider a narcissistic relationship where it's primarily all one-sided, and a lot of times we're so deep in. Some of us get married, some of us have kids, some of us say we're staying for all the right reasons, but all the wrong reasons at the same time. And once we liberate ourselves, there's really no going back after that. And for me, a lot of times when I read this one, it cuts deep because I know what was going on during that time. The divorce, the kids asking questions, and yet in a very hard time for the family, I myself was feeling a new sense of peace, a new sense of freedom, a new sense of I made it. I'm out. I'm able to make decisions for myself, and I don't have to ask or feel like they're the wrong decisions. And even to my children, I always try to make the house as happy as possible. And it wasn't easy. I mean, getting liberated from that relationship was not easy. It came with many years of trying and the back and forth and the guessing of, you know, if I just make it work for him, for me, for them, you know, especially having children, you know, you want to make it last forever. You want the fairy tale, but it doesn't always happen that way. It doesn't always add up to roses and happily ever after. Sometimes you've got to say it's happily over. And I don't think people understand that, you know, and shout out to all of those who are in those 20, 30, 40, 50 year marriages. You know, that's great. For me, I needed to declare my own independence. I needed to be out. There wasn't anything that I could do, and there wasn't anything that he could do once we got to that point of this is over, you know. And I'm not going to sit here and shame us for not staying in this committed marriage because he wasn't the one. And I think somewhere along the line, I knew that early on into the marriage, even after having the kids, we just, things would be great and good. And then we'd fall back into that. Well, when it's bad, it's really bad. And I think a lot of people go through that. And again, shout out to the moms and dads of the old that are still together to this day, and their grannies and, grandmas, and, they've got, 40, 50, even 60 years together. That's great. Not everybody is cut out for that. And maybe, going in, we should be asking questions of, do I really see myself with this person, 20 years later, 5 years later, hell, even 15 months later? I don't think we as a society put enough pressure on the younger generation to really ask those questions. And I think a lot of people put too much pressure on the religious aspect of you got to be married and you've got to have it a certain way, and all the societal conforming that we do to each other as, as humans, I think weighs a lot on the younger generations that are coming up, and everybody says, oh, this generation's lost and that generation's lost. But the truth is, I think sometimes because we don't talk about it, we just say, oh, boy meets girl, or girl meets girl, or boy meets boy, supposed to get married. And it doesn't even matter anymore. People are just so hung up on marriage and not realizing that, sometimes all a person truly needs is a partner, a life partner. And I'll probably be crucified just for saying that, and going against the grain of marriage. But, I think about people that have been together all these years. I mean, hell, look at Goldie Hawn and Kirk Douglas, and I think that's his name. And they've been married not married, but they've been together this whole time. And, from what people say is like they don't have an official license of marriage. You've got, forgive me, but, people like Gene Simmons, from Kiss, he's been with his betrothed, his love, his girl for ages. Hell, he's probably my father's age, and they've made it last, but then you've got people that, are brought up in the church and are told to be married, and you do it the right way, and then you find out maybe a year in or a month in that, I don't want to be here. And you can't fault that person for owning their truth or realizing their truth and wanting to get out before it's too late or they're in too deep. And I think we should focus as a society in the restructuring of that person and the recovery of that person, because at the end of the day, someone's going to be hurt. Someone's always hurt. But why not, as a society, come to the aid, for lack of a better word, instead of just saying, oh, they were messed up, it was their loss. And instead of doing all that, why don't we tell him, hey, man, it's going to be okay. It's all right that you're getting divorced. It's okay, things happen, and maybe you guys outgrew each other. Maybe you were never meant to be together. Maybe you loved the idea of being in love with someone, or having someone love you, because maybe your upbringing wasn't as loving, or maybe you felt you were missing something. Whatever the case might be, when you finally declare your independence of whatever it is you want, you'll find that you're a lot happier. You're at peace. you'll have inner peace, and you'll realize that you don't need to be codependent on someone else's being there for you to just show up for you. And I think that's what I found. Once I found out that the divorce was happening and the divorce was going to be finalized and that we were going to go through with it, because like I said, it was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of reconciliation. There were a lot of things that we tried, and I won't bash him. That I won't do. We were young when we said I do, and we were old enough to say we didn't want to anymore. I mean, we got beautiful children out of it, and I think a lot of people can say that's what they get or they walk away with, or I've heard some people even say that's the consolation prize. I got great, beautiful children, I think it's more than a consolation prize. I gave you the best that I possibly had, and we made this beautiful person, and we loved the best we possibly could until we needed to do it apart from each other. And I'll always be grateful for that. But I just remember that when I was writing this, I wrote it as a declaration of independence for me. Because I finally understood what he inspired in me, within my very essence. I mean, I didn't know whether to congratulate him or talk about him, to be honest. But I know that without him, I wouldn't have had anything to say. So, to that, I'm always grateful. I'm thankful for everything, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. I'm grateful for the relationship and everything it taught me, and for inspiring me to declare my own independence and regain my me. Because for a long time, I honestly didn't know I was their mom and his wife and whatever other hats I wore at that time. So that's the backstory to that one. A declaration of independence for me, inspired by you. Until next time, I'm SC AYALA, and this is Lovesick, Pages of a Poetic Heart.